In this video, we will see JSP constructs which are called directives. So directives provide directions to the server so that the server can control the processing of our JSP page. That is why the name directives. So there are three types of directives. One is page, second is include, and third is taglib. So the page directive, it defines some attributes which are dependent on the page. So some attributes of the page, such as the scripting language, or the buffer, or the content type of the page, or the error page of the page, or if the JSP page is itself an error page, or some requirements like does the page include, import some classes, or does it extend some classes. So all these page dependent attributes are defined in the page directive. Next is the include directive. So include directive is used to include a file, and this file is included at the translation phase. So when the JSP is being translated into a servlet, at that time the inclusion of some other file will take place. So for that we'll have to use the include directive. And the taglib directive, so this is used to declare a tag library which contains some custom tags. So if we want to define some tags of our own, then we can define those tags and we can use them in our JSP page using the taglib directive. So we'll look at page directives first. So these are some of the attributes of page directives. For example, we have buffer. So if you want to specify a buffer size for the output stream, so when we are writing the response from in our JSP page, and we'll be sending that response using the output stream, so we can use a buffer for it. So if we are using a buffer, we can specify the buffer size, or we may also write none. Then we can decide if the servlet's output buffer should be cleared automatically. So for that we can set auto flush to true or set it to false. Then we can also define the content type. So the content type will define the type of the response that we are sending. So if we are sending HTML response, then we will specify content type to be text/HTML. Similarly, we can uh, write the character encoding that we are using. So we can write character encoding UTF-8, or page encoding, we can say. Then there are attributes called error page and is error page. So these are used for exception handling. And what the error page attribute does is it will define the URL of some other JSP page, and that JSP page will be the page which will be handling the exceptions that are occurring. So whenever an exception occurs on our JSP page, the control will be transferred to the error page, the URL which we have written as a value for the error page attribute. Similarly, if some page in our application is responsible for handling exceptions, then we have to specify it as an error page, and for that we will write is error page true. So this will indicate that this JSP page is a page which is going to handle exceptions, and the implicit object exception will be available in this page only. Next, we also have attributes like extend. So if we want to specify some class that we need to extend in our servlet, or rather the servlet which we will get after the JSP is translated, so then we can specify it here. We can write extends is equal to and the class name. Similarly, if you want to import some packages or import some classes to use in our JSP application, we can use the import attribute, and we can specify either a package. So like we import classes in a Java file. So like we say java.util.star, We can write it that way, or we can be specific and write just a class name. So both the ways are valid. And we also have an attribute named info, which contains a string, and this string will contain the description of our servlet. So it works the same as the get servlet info method of the servlet. And so internally, when we are setting this info, we are actually setting the information of the servlet, the description. And when we call the get servlet info method, we will get this same string that we have set. We'll see some examples of how we can use the page directive. So here in this tag, so this denotes the page directive, and here we can specify attributes. So we can specify these attributes in the same line separated by a space, or we can also write each of the attribute in a separate page directive. Both are acceptable. So to set the content type to text/html with the character encoding UTF-8, we can give an input like this. So text/html. If we write text/plain here, then the response that we are writing, and the response that we are going to send to the client, that will be treated as if it is plain text. So like we had seen in the servlets, if we set the content type to text/plain, then all of the content that we have written, even if it is HTML content, it will be read, or it will be rendered as if it is a plain text on the client side or the client browser. Then if we want to use some SQL classes in our code, then we can import these classes like so. So we can write import is equal to java.sql.star, which means that we are importing all the classes which are present in java.sql package. We can also write multiple import attributes here with a single import for each class, or we can include all the classes which are present in the package by writing star. Next, if we want to specify that the page has no buffer, so the output stream that we are using to write the response, if we want no buffer for that, then we will write buffer is equal to none. And in case we want to set a size for the buffer, then we can also specify the size like this. So buffer is equal to 100 KB. Now, if we want to forward control to an error page, then we can specify that in the error page attribute of page directive. So we'll just pass the file name, the URL pattern of the file, myerrorpage.jsp, as the value to the attribute error page. So what happens is, if any exception occurs on this page, on the page where this line is written, then the control will be transferred to this error page, which is myerrorpage.jsp. Then on this myerrorpage.jsp, we will have to write that it is an error page. So to denote that myerrorpage.jsp is an error page, we will have to write the page directive with the attribute is error page and it should be set to true. So here we have specified the content type to be text/html with the page encoding UTF-8, and we have imported java.sql.star, which means we are importing all classes belonging to this package. And so this way we can specify multiple attributes of the page directive in multiple lines. We have also specified the info attribute, which we can get using the get servlet info method. Then in our JSP code here in the body, if we want to use some classes of the SQL package, then we can directly use them like we do in Java code. So we do not need to write the complete class name along with the package name, because we have imported. So if we remove this import, then there will be an error here in So as you can see, connection and driver manager, because these classes and interfaces, they need to be imported and we have not imported them, you will get an error here. So for that we need to import these, and here we are printing the servlet info that we have set. So the value that we have set here, my first JSP page, that will be printed when we execute. So here is the output of the first.jsp page that we have just written. So hello world gets printed, and after that the servlet info gets printed because we have called the get servlet info method. Next directive is the include directive. So this is used to specify that some resource which contains some text or code that needs to be inserted into our JSP page. And this happens when the JSP page is being translated into the servlet. So that is why it is also called as static include, because this complete inclusion takes place at translation time. The syntax is to use the include keyword after the at the rate in a scriptlet, and to specify the file which we need to include, we have to use the file attribute and specify the name of our file. The include directive is used between files which are in the same servlet context, which means that we cannot move out of the web application that we are working with. So it will only work with the files which are present in our same application or in the same context. The third directive that we'll see is the taglib directive. So taglib is used to specify a library of custom JSP tags. So if we want to extend the functionality of our application by defining our own tags, or let's say we require some operations which are very frequently executed in the web application, then what we can do is we can specify our own set of tags, and we can include them in our file using the taglib directive. So what we have to do is we just need to specify the folder in which our tags are stored. So URI will be the path wherein our custom tags will be, and to use these custom tags we will need a prefix, so that can be defined using this attribute prefix. So my tag is the prefix here, and this dbase access is the custom tag that we have created, which is inside my custom tags. So if we want to use this database access tag, then we can use it with the prefix that we have defined here. So this is how we can use some custom JSP tags of our own, or if there are some third-party vendors who have their own set of tags, then we can use them using the taglib directive. The next JSP construct that we'll see is a comment. So to write a comment in a JSP, we simply write a scriptlet, and inside the scriptlet we begin with two hyphens and end with two hyphens. So this is a comment in JSP. Now we have seen the standard syntax of writing a JSP. There is also another syntax which is called the XML syntax. So if you create a JSP file with XML syntax, then the extension will be JSPX. Now these XML features were added in JSP 1.2 specification, and that is why the traditional JSP constructs like these for the page directives, include directives, and scriptlets like these, or declarations and expressions. So all these standard JSP constructs, they are not syntactically valid within a JSP XML document. So we cannot write these tags inside a JSPX file. but a JSPX syntax is valid in a JSP standard document. So if we write the XML syntaxes in a JSP file, then they will be valid, but we cannot write these traditional constructs in the JSPX file. So these are the different syntaxes that we have seen in standard versus XML. So this is a comment in JSP standard syntax, whereas this is a comment in the XML syntax. Then for the declaration, as we have seen, this is how it is written in the XML syntax, JSP colon declaration. Same for include page, and for the taglib, we have to use XML namespace ns. For expressions, we use JSP colon expression. For a scriptlet, we use JSP colon scriptlet. The file extension here is JSP and the file extension here is JSPX.